Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Welcome back. Dr. Jaws here. And tonight, this is going to be kind of a special episode where we're going to be talking about two topics the Gulf Dogfish, Squalus clarkae, also known as Genie's dogfish. And the second topic is the namesake of the species, as is named after Dr. Eugenie Clark, who is a famous ichthyologist, also known as the Shark Lady, who this species is named in her honor. Honor. So what we're going to do tonight is talk about the shark itself, but also more about Eugenie's history and her career in shark sciences. So we're going to take a look at a little bit of footage, a lot of science relating to this species, and just some articles on Eugenie's history. So here we go, taking a look at a clip from an Okeanos expedition. So Okeanos is this really great program from NOAA, and I think they're actually pretty famous on YouTube, where they're pretty popular clips of marine life from the deep sea that is kind of showcased to just available for streaming. You can actually watch either clips like this dogfish clip, like little highlights of different animals that they see. Or you can see the entire expedition. Usually they're an hour or 2 hours of just a deep sea dive, which is a really cool experience, and you can do it from the comfort of your home. So, but it's really cool to see a footage of the Gulf dogfish, also known as Genie's dogfish, especially since this is kind of like what a classic dogfish is. This is what this group of sharks is kind of meant to be. We're very familiar with the spiny dogfish, Squalus, which is a shark that lives in both shallow water and deep water. And spiny dogfish are very unusual in the sense that they can go into shallow water. Usually dogfish are actually deep water species. I slowed this down half speed to extend it, but let's go back to full speed just to kind of see how this animal moves. But it's really cool to see a dogfish in its natural habitat in the deep sea environment, and how it's kind of adapted to live down here. And this looks like maybe, I'm curious like what the depth is, because this looks like maybe Twilight Zone or maybe lower Sunlit Zone perhaps. It's really cool to see all the zooming in on the dogfish, and there's immediately some interesting markings on this shark. So I see white margins on the dorsal fins and the caudal fin too. It's actually this really cool pattern where there seems to be like a black stripe midway on the dorsal fin, and then white margins on the fin tips. So very pretty shark, pretty active in terms of how it swims down here. It's incredible to think that we are able to have this image just of the deep sea floor, where you can see a lot of invertebrates, and actually it's not like a barren community or anything. It's not like an abyssal plain of just oozes and muds. It's actually there's quite a lot of, like, all these white shapes are different kinds of invertebrates, whether they're tube worms or maybe even deep water corals or sponges. And here's a great view of the dogfish just sitting on the seabed, actually taking a rest and actively pumping water over its gills. So this is a shark that can breathe. Oh, there we go. This is a shark that can breathe by buccal pumping, so actively pumping water over its gills. It's actually a great shot of it doing that. You can even see the gills like in action as the shark is pumping the water. You can actually even see that the shark is kind of pivoting, or is kind of oriented where it's almost as if it's resting on its fin tips, its pectoral fin tips, and its head is upward, which is kind of cool. It's not flush with the seabed. Again, really, really cool images. And that's a great... I can't tell if that was a predation event. Let's rewind that, because that was actually extremely fast. And I might have to slow that down to kind of see what was going on there. So another great clip of the dogfish rapidly charging something. So here he goes, he's swimming away. So I can't tell if it was going after something or if it was agitated by something. And it could be, maybe it could be agitated by the sub a little bit. So let's play this one more time, but half speed, to see if we can see anything. So here's the shark going around the corner, maybe disturbed by the sub. I don't see any prey item. Okay, so something moved, and that might be like a crab or something back there, but not exactly sure what happened. Or it could be it bumped into another dogfish down here, or something. Something, it might have bumped into something around that rock that it wasn't expecting, and maybe it got a little scared. So, but it's really cool to see such rapid movement down here in these deep cold waters. And the shark is still actually pretty actively swimming. It seems very alert right now. So a lot of sharks, or most sharks, if not all sharks, they want to conserve their energy, so they're not going to be swimming fast at high speeds all the time. It's only if they're after something, or if they're trying to hone in on something, or trying to hunt something, or escape something. So it's so interesting seeing how active this shark is, especially for a deep water shark. Beautiful animal. You can see some of the dorsal fin spines. So not sure if they're venomous. We know that spiny dogfish have venomous spines that are they have like a mild venom that is similar to sea raven venom. So it's not lethal for humans. It's just something that would give a really powerful sting. It's kind of cool to think about how dogfish sharks have these spines and have evolved these spines. I mean, you kind of think of a parallel to stingrays, which have also evolved spines in different part of their body, but many stingrays famously have venomous spines. So it's kind of cool to see that these are both elasmobranchs, are two very different groups, like the sharks and the rays, but they share the same evolutionary link, and it's kind of cool to see that feature is shared by them as well, where you have, I think you only have like the dasyatids, like the stingrays, having the spines. There's some rays that don't have them, but some rays like the dasyatids, or I think Conroe's rays have spines too. So those groups of the ray, like batoids, raids, have spines. Whereas in sharks, you have the dogfish having spines, lantern sharks have spines, and then the horn sharks have spines. And it's just kind of interesting that it's a feature that elasmobranchs have, and just we know that stingrays are venomous. We know that dogfish are venomous. I'm not sure if horn sharks are venomous, but it's just kind of cool. It's just these are these are just different groups, but within each group there's this interesting evolution. Let's see. Let's learn more about Genie's dogfish in particular. So I think we'll take a look at fish base first. A great photograph of a species hauled out on, or sorry, an individual hauled out on deck. But confirming that this is definitely a identifying feature, specifically the color pattern. There's a dark margin in the midpoint of the dorsal fin, and then a white margin on the caudal fin. And it's hard to tell in this photograph, but it looks like on the free rear tip of the, okay, so the caudal fin margin is white, just like in the video. The dorsal fins have black bars. In the video, the dorsal fins also had white margins, but I can't really see that in the photo. Let's see. So this species name is Squalus clarkae. Squalus, genus name from Latin squalus, meaning shark. Clarkae named after Dr. Eugenie Clark, or Eugenie Clark, for a dedication to elasmobranch biology and marine conservation. Eponymy: Dr. Eugenie Clark, sometimes known as the Shark Lady, was a Japanese-American ichthyologist. This species lives 242 to 613 meters, so this is a twilight zone shark. Lives in the western Atlantic from the Gulf of Mexico, West Florida slope off Tampa, to the west side ahead of DeSoto Canyon off Louisiana. Let's see. Caudal bar present at the fork of the caudal fin, dorsal caudal lobe with broad rounded tip. Let's see if it has anything on color. This is more of a preserved specimen, but you could still see the dark bar on the dorsal fin, but you can't see the white. Take a look at that clip again. Yeah, so you could definitely see like white margins on the dorsal fins of the shark. It's kind of cool to see that there's a fish in the background here, just kind of lurking. So I was just checking the video description really quick. It says this is off the east coast of Florida. It doesn't say where specifically, but if the shark lives, if the upper depth limit is 212 meters, it's probably safe to say, and since Okeanos does deep water dives anyway, it's probably safe to say that this is maybe somewhere in the twilight zone. But yeah, interesting. Yeah, this individual definitely has white margins in the caudal fin, just like in the photo. It also has white tips on the dorsal fins, so which is unlike the photo. So maybe that's just maybe that's a color that fades, or maybe that's a color that is in life and fades if the shark is deceased. I'm not really sure kind of why there's a variance there, but interesting. Let's see. So on sharkreferences.com, common names are Genie's dogfish and Gulf Dogfish, named after Gulf of Mexico. Just reading through the description really quickly to see if there's any mentions on color. Nope. Size is 72 centimeters, so pretty fair size. It's like kind of a small to medium sized shark as far as sharks go, and I mean, I guess compared to humans, very small. It's very comparable in size to spiny dogfish. So really long dorsal fin spine actually here. Small gill slits on the sides, large spherical, pretty large eyes, probably proportionally larger than spiny dogfish. The dorsal fin spine is actually longer too than the spiny dogfish. Spiny dogfish dorsal fins are a little bit shorter than this. And then nice strong caudal fin, very similar looking to spiny dogfish, almost like paddle shaped. So these sharks, they're small, but they're strong swimmers. Let's see. Conservation for the Gulf dogfish, also known as Genie's dogfish. Let's see. So least concern. It's great to see that this species, or this species is doing relatively really well compared to other shark species, and it lives in deep water areas in the Western Atlantic, Caribbean Sea, and Gulf of Mexico. Western Atlantic. Oops, sorry. Things that make it least concern. Genie's dogfish is a small deepwater shark with a potentially widespread distribution in the western central Atlantic Ocean, ranging from North Carolina throughout the Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean to Venezuela, but it likely occurs throughout the Caribbean islands as well. It inhabits the continental shelves and slopes at depths of 100 to 750 meters. It is taken as discarded bycatch of deepwater demersal trawl and hook and line fisheries in the Gulf of Mexico, and potentially a deep-set gillnet fishery off Venezuela. The population trend in northern Gulf of Mexico shows a transient dip from 2011 to 2014, recovering toward the end of the time series in 2018, but the bulk of the species' depth range and geographic range is unfished. The species is not suspected to be close to reaching the population reduction threshold, and Genie's dogfish is assessed as least concern. So one of quite a few sharks that is actually doing pretty okay. IUCN is saying that this has a larger depth range from 100 meters to 750, so still deep water shark, still spending most of its time in the twilight zone, but occasionally spending a little bit of time in the sunlit zone too, because the cutoff for the sunlit zone is 200 meters. But it's great to see sharks that are doing relatively well, and this shark is interesting in particular because dogfish usually have a very slow life history. Spiny dogfish in particular are infamous for being part of very major major fisheries that have crashed spectacularly because they have very they grow very slowly, reproduce very slowly, they have they're slow to grow, slow to reach sexual maturity, and they have very few pups, and it's just a recipe for disaster against a lot of fishing pressure. So it's great to see a kind of dogfish that is actually doing okay. It doesn't mean that it's a species that should be fished. It just means that I think perhaps that this species of dogfish spends more time in deep water environments. It's probably escaping fishing pressure more than the spiny dogfish, just because spiny dogfish do spend a lot of time unusually in shallow water. So it's great to see that there are some sharks that, and there's actually quite a few sharks that are actually least concerned that they're doing okay relatively. So kind of as a reminder, I would say a third of all sharks are probably doing okay relatively. A third of all sharks are kind of in that middle zone of like there's something up where they're being harvested at an alarming level, but they're sort of kind of treading water, if you will, as far as like their overall conservation. And then a third of all sharks are severely threatened, whether that's endangered, vulnerable species being close to endangered, and then critically endangered species. So it's like kind of like rough math is like a third, a third, a third. A third are okay, a third are really not okay, and a third are somewhere in the middle. So, but it's great to see a shark, especially kind of in this part of the world. It's nice to see least concerned sharks because there's not like when I think about like the Mid-Atlantic, this is not really Mid-Atlantic, is kind of more like Southeast Atlantic, but kind of when I think about my backyard as far as sharks go, there's quite a few species that are vulnerable or worse. Like they're most species are like not doing okay, and really the least concerned ones are like the sharp-nosed sharks and the sand devil and I guess maybe lantern sharks. So and everything else. Oh, and I guess smooth hounds. Smooth hounds are relatively doing okay. So, but yeah, a lot are not so well off, unfortunately. So. I think what we might do before we dive into Eugenie Clark, I kind of want to learn more about this shark in particular. So I think we'll start out with, let's see. We can start out with this. So new records of Velazarbranchs from the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. So this is by Luis Fernando del Moral Flores, Maria Belén González Perez, Armando T. Wakita Kuzunoki, Adriana Martinez Guevara, Guadalupe del Rosario, Vlishauer Hernandez, and Nisi Marianne. Marianne. I apologize if I'm not saying this right, but Nisi Marianne Rodriguez Renteria. Okay. We present information about new records of 11 species of chondrichthyans in the southern Gulf of Mexico, adding information about new specimens and occurrences of the species in Mexican waters. The second record of Bathitoschia centroura, Musculus, I'm not sure what this Bathitoschia is, Musculus sinus mexicanus, this is a smooth hound, Mobula hypostoma is a ray, Squalus clarkae is the Gulf Dogfish. Species from Mexico is presented, as well as new records of marine areas and the lagoon Alvarado system corresponding to Hexanchus vitulis. This is a really cool six-gill shark. This is a new six-gill shark species. Heptranchius perlo is a seven-gill shark, the sharp-nosed seven-gill shark. Scaleranus ratifer is a chain cat shark, and Squalus cubensis is the Cuban dogfish. In this paper, increased the number of record species, or records for species of lazarus of the southwestern region of Gulf of Mexico, increased the distribution range and knowledge about the chondrichtio fauna of Mexico. So, Bathytotia, I'm really not sure what this is, so I'm curious to learn what that is, actually. I've never heard of that. I guess it's a ray, but I won't read the whole thing, but we'll just kind of skim. Elasmobranchs have played a very important role in the trophic ecology and evolution of marine life, both in the past and in the present, managing to shape and influence marine community dynamics. In the face of ecological changes and overfishing, it is essential to understand the consequences of the loss of these organisms, such as the effects of trophic cascades, since they're considered one of the main marine predators. Likewise, climate change is another factor that can directly influence their distribution. Even changes in the temperature of the ocean over geologic time are correlated with the extinction and diversification of shark groups in the past. Let's see. According to the last census, approximately 1,188 species of cartilaginous fish are registered worldwide, which include representatives of the current class of Elasmobranchi and holocephali. So Elasmobranchi is sharks and rays, holocephali is the chimeras. Let's see. In jurisdictional waters in Mexico, approximately 206 species of elasmobranchs and 8 holocephalians have been recorded. Of these, 118 species are distributed in the Atlantic coast, of which includes the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. However, there's a great lack of information about the distribution patterns of many species in country waters. Let's see. One of the main factors that influences this lack of information is the scarce and inconclusive fishing records that occur in the southern coast of the Gulf of Mexico, where the data is obtained mainly by artisanal fishing, which is characterized by being small in scale, multi-specific, and heterogeneous activity in its catches. In this type of fishery, the different species of rays are grouped in the category of manta or aleta, and that includes several large species, meaning those of the genera Hypanus and Gymnura. The different species of sharks are classified as tiburon when its total length is greater than 1.2 meters, or chazon when it is less than 1.2 meters. So this is actually a really serious and very common problem in a lot of parts of the world, where like every country does this, where they don't identify sharks at a specific level. And granted, a lot of shark species are very, very difficult to identify at a species level, but this is a really big problem for conservation, because if you lump sharks into a single bucket, you might be catching an endangered species and lumping it into the same bucket as a non-endangered species, and you're not reporting or recording like what's really being affected by this fishery activity, and it gets really confusing, and it could cause a lot of errors, in the sense that you could be underprotecting an area, or you could be overprotecting an area, just because you're not accurate in terms of what you're catching. I know in the United States, the big one is sand shark, which is not a real shark. It is just a awful collective. It's a very common collective for a lot of different species, and it's been applied to like 5 different species, and they're all in different groups. It's just like, it's really confusing. So, I mean, I've heard sand shark as a term be applied to sand tiger sharks, sandbar sharks, dogfish, and smoothhounds, and those are all completely different animals. Like smoothhounds are doing well, sand tiger sharks are critically endangered. It's just like it's too generic, and it's kind of the same thing as like freshwater fishermen calling any sunfish a bluegill. It's a similar thing where it's like, no, like there's different species, there's different. Actually, no, it's worse than that, because like sunfish are doing fine. Or most sunfish are doing fine. But like with sharks, a lot of them are not okay, and to have it all lumped into sand shark is just kind of aggravating, because it's like it's not. There's no such thing as a sand shark. It's just it's kind of like a lazy term for a shark that is difficult to identify. So it's just, and it's hard because again, sharks sincerely are very difficult. It depends on the group, but like requiem sharks are really, really difficult to get to a species level. It's very hard to identify like a dusky shark or a like a fine tooth shark. Like those are tricky. Like those are really really tricky because they look so close together. But I mean, not those two species in particular, but just in general for most people, like sharks are really tricky to identify. But these collectives are not. They're not okay. They're not going to help them. So it's important to kind of have that effort to really try to drill down into like what is what. Um, and two big categories based on size is like not okay. That's not really going to help. So I think this is just basically what I just said. Another information gap is about the elazobeaks that are distributed in deep waters of Mexico, whose records are sporadic and not receive the adequate attention of their role in the main fisheries of the region. Recently, through the study and analysis of commercial catches in the southern parts of the Gulf of Mexico, the presence of some species considered rare of pelagic affinity and depth have been pointed out. So within this context, information and records of elazobeak species whose presence is considered unusual in the coasts of the southeastern of the Gulf of Mexico are presented. Let's see. So we won't read the material and methods. A total of 88 specimens belonging to 11 species grouped in 8 families and 4 orders of elazobeaks were obtained. Records included below. So Hexanchus vitalis is the big eye 6-gill shark. Oh, this is cool. So this is actually kind of a map. A map of where they caught these animals. Southwestern portion of the Gulf of Mexico. Let's see. So Squalus clarkae is this octagon shape. So they caught the Gulf dogfish, also known as Genie's dogfish, here, kind of in the bottom right portion. But this all looks like a pretty similar area. Really, like the major difference here is I could see animals being caught in the lagoon. So I see Mobula hypostoma as a ray, and then Gymnura lesi. I think that's a butterfly ray. I'm not sure what Gymnura is. Looking at the bathymetry here, this is actually kind of interesting. Where this is 100 meters. This contour is 100 meters, so that actually correlates with the ice I read saying that the Gulf dogfish actually has an upper depth limit of 100 meters. So that's actually great to know. So it is a species that enters the sunlit zone for a little bit of time. So we have that here. We have, what else we have? Muscellocynum mexicanus. I think that's the. Let me check out Sharks of the World really quick. I was about to say that's a Mexican smoothhound, but I could be wrong. The Gulf of Mexico smoothhound. Okay, so that's that one. Gallisudio cuvier is a tiger shark. So tiger shark has been caught here. This upper top left corner. Carcharodon plumbea is a sandbar shark that's been here. What else did they catch? Heptrancus perlo is a sharp-nosed 7-gill shark. Squalus. No, we already touched that. Bathytotia. I'm very excited to learn what the heck that is. And then two records of Hexanchus vitalis, that big eyed 6-gill shark, and then finally the Cuban dogfish in deeper water. So pretty cool. Very sharp to 7-gill, chain cat shark. Oh wow, they actually have photos of the sharks that they caught. Okay, here we go. So A and B are the 6-gill and 7-gill. I think B is the 7-gill. Yeah, A is the 6-gill, B is the 7-gill. And the reason I say that is 7-gill sharks, like sharp-nosed 7-gill sharks, they have this kind of weird. They have more of like a pointed look to them, and their teeth are really nasty. So I mean, 7-gill teeth are no joke either. But so cool to see. It's also incredible to think about 7-gill sharks and their biology, where these guys get to be massive. I'm sorry, 6-gill sharks. 6-gill sharks get to be massive. I don't know how large 7-gill sharks get to be, but 6-gill sharks get to be the size of a great white. It's kind of incredible, and they're like these massive deep water sharks. So, the beautiful chain cat shark, which you may have seen if you're in the United States. These are very popular at aquariums, so you may have seen this in an aquarium. But really beautiful species all along the coast here. And we have chain cat shark A cases here. This is the Gulf of Mexico smoothhound. Some Musculus cynomexicanus. So it looks like a dusky smoothhound, but it has actually pretty tall dorsal fins. A little bit more intense looking. So it's a really cool looking shark. Sandbar shark up here. This may be sandbar shark pups. So they may have accidentally caught a gravid female, which is sad. Tiger shark here, unfortunately. So, you can tell just with the broad snout. You can actually see the tiger stripes in this photograph, and then the teeth too, just like the classic heart-shaped teeth. Let's see, tiger shark. There we go. So we've got two dogfish. We've got the Cuban dogfish and Genie's dogfish, or also known as the Gulf dogfish. So the one, figure B is the Gulf dogfish, because there's a white caudal margin here. Figure A is a Cuban dogfish. Pretty sure that's correct. Oh, I actually got those mixed up. So it looks like Cuban dogfish also have a white caudal margin. So Genie's dogfish is figure A, and then the Cuban dogfish is figure B. So it goes back to sharks are very difficult to tell apart. So maybe it looks like Genie's dogfish has like the black bars on the dorsal fin. So and it looks like Cuban dogfish not so much. So C, D, and E are rays. So D is a butterfly ray, which is a really cool group of rays. They have these beautiful, huge fins and these really tiny tails. Really stunning. C is something new to me. So C is the Bathytotia, which looks like a stingray. I've never heard of this genus before, but Bathytotia, which looks like it has really large durable denticles, which is pretty interesting. And then E is Mobula. So it's kind of like, they're also known as devil rays. So they look similarly to manta rays, they just are not as large, but Mobula rays have the iconic devil horns, which are actually modified fins that help kind of scoop up plankton. But really cool looking animals. So I'm just going to skim through the discussion before we move on. Let's see. Studies. It should be noted that marine waters of the Gulf of Mexico belong to the USA. There is a greater sampling effort and work in the taxonomic. This is interesting, actually. Okay, let me read this. It should be noted that in marine waters of the Gulf of Mexico belonging to the USA, there's a greater sampling effort and work in the taxonomic diversity of the group. So, Gulf of Mexico obviously is a region bordered by the United States in the north, Mexico to the south. But it's interesting they point out that there's a lot of American shark research in the northern part of the area, but the southern part of the area, there's not as much research. And so the southern part of the area, it's a huge area, and the southern part of the area is not maybe as well known. So you can kind of compare the results here to what was found in the northern Gulf of Mexico, but they are different. And we should check out marine ecoregions of the world, because I forget, I know the Gulf of Mexico is split into a couple different regions. So, and I'm going to post this in the chat. So, even though the chat's kind of quiet, I see that we have had a few viewers on this stream tonight. So, just in case, if anybody is new, these are the marine ecoregions of the world. This is a really cool, and I posted a link in the chat. But this is a really cool conservation tool that it kind of helps develop an approach to understanding the ocean where, kind of in the simplest level, you know that there's the tropical ocean, where you have constant sunlight year-round, the temperate ocean where you have seasonal changes in sun, and then the polar seas where you have drastic changes in sunlight and the coldest temperatures on Earth. So those three major regions have they create very different conditions for life. So and then those are three major regions of the world. You can keep subdividing those regions by other things in terms of like, well, what's the underwater topography like? What are the currents like? How much vegetation is here? How much river output is here? And if you keep like kind of breaking the ocean up into these different regions, you get these unique zones called ecoregions, which are kind of like good units where they're kind of like your most basic unit of the ocean, where you know that animals in Iceland are not going to be the same as animals in Bermuda, but you know where's that line? Where's that boundary where it's like, okay, there's kind of a set of animals that is like Bermudan in character. There's a set of animals that's like Icelandic in character. Like you know what really separates them? Like what kind of what are like these different regions of ecosystems as far as like the marine world goes. So the ecoregions are the most basic level, and they're actually they're really well thought out, and like they're a very handy framework for kind of understanding that different parts of the sea just don't operate the same way, and it's helpful as a conservation tool where it kind of helps identify endemic species. Like these are regions where you're gonna get maybe one kind of coral or one kind of kelp that's not found anywhere else in the world. It's like it's helpful to kind of like have these frameworks. And so with that in mind, I'm kind of curious about the Gulf of Mexico in terms of like if there are actually distinct biological regions, and it looks like there are. So from what I can see, there's 3, technically 4. So we'll start off with the first one, which I'm pretty sure they don't have really creative names. Sometimes the names are really cool, sometimes they're not. But so you have the northern Gulf of Mexico, the southern Gulf of Mexico. So these seem to be 2 distinct regions, and that means that they have 2. There's something unique about each one that's just a little bit different, where it's just something about the processes in each region is a little bit different. So for example, in the northern Gulf of Mexico, you have to consider the huge amount of sediment input from the Mississippi River, which is draining the entire continent, or like. Well, yeah, I mean, essentially draining most of the continent, not the entire continent, but most of it. So that probably has an effect on the surrounding seawater here. Whereas down here in the southern Gulf of Mexico, you don't have a major river quite doing the same thing. The terrain is also quite different too, where it's a little bit more, I don't want to say mountainous, but it's a little bit more dramatic. Whereas here, this is all like floodplains and flat and a lot of heavy sediment load. So that's probably one major difference between these 2 regions. You also have the Floridian, which is a tropical region. And actually, this is another difference too. So the northern Gulf of Mexico, you could take a look here. This is considered temperate. It's actually warm temperate water, so subtropical water, while the southern Gulf of Mexico is actually considered to be truly tropical. So that's actually a major difference, where there's more solar energy down here in the southern Gulf of Mexico than the northern Gulf of Mexico. And then Florida, also similarly, the Floridian marine ecoregion is truly tropical as well. When you go down the coast, Florida really is. If you're in the United States going down the coast, Florida really is the first tropical area. Everything else is temperate, sometimes called subtropical. So the Carolinian region here is subtropical. The northern Gulf of Mexico is subtropical. But the Floridian region and the southern Gulf of Mexico are both truly tropical regions. So that's a huge difference between the northern and the southern Gulf of Mexico. So I'm glad we checked that. It's pretty interesting. So, and coincidentally, a lot of research has been done here in the northern Gulf of Mexico, but in the southern Gulf of Mexico, where that study was based, not as much research. And there's probably a lot to discover, really, because that's a major difference in temperature regime. The 4th, maybe 5th region to take a look at, you have a little bit of the Greater Antilles wrapping around Cuba. So the Greater Antilles, they all share ecological characteristics, and some of that is kind of dipping into the Gulf of Mexico technically, like in a tiny way. And finally, you can make a similar-ish argument with the Western Caribbean ecoregion, kind of dipping in here in a tiny way, but really not. So, but yeah, marine ecoregions of the world. Oh, it's Minges! This is so cool. Welcome back. As someone who's still learning, even after 2 years, I genuinely appreciate you giving reminders about how marine ecoregions work, how different they are compared to terrestrial biomes. Well, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that comment. Thank you. And I mean, they're so cool in terms of like how I'm always astounded, and I think I'm gonna keep learning throughout the rest of my life about this, where it's astounding to think about how like the medium of air and the medium of water make these remarkable changes where just water like aquatic systems and marine systems are just completely different from terrestrial systems in terms of how everything works, how everything moves. um, One big thing is plants, where in terrestrial systems plants dominate the landscape and are a huge part of like what defines biodiversity. And in marine systems, that's just not. In aquatic systems, they're a big part of it too. But marine systems, that's just not happening. Like the saltier the water, the more plants die. Really. So it's really more of a world of animals with like corals and such. So and algae, I guess too. So, but I just think it's so cool that just I'm not really articulating it well, but just you know, when you change the conditions, like you get these amazing like differences in life and in just biodiversity. So and the marine ecoregions are just, I love this framework. It's super cool. So but we'll hop back over to, let's see if we have more information. Oh, here we go. So I left off on this discussion. Let's see. There's a higher number of inventories concerning of Elazabrink. Oh, I love this comment. I'm gonna start this. This is insane to think about. It should be noted that marine waters. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a higher number of inventories concerning of Elazabrink species associated with Mexican fisheries in the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean. However, the existence of various species has not been verified with photographic or physical evidence or specimens in scientific collections. Let's see. I think I'll just focus on the dogfish. So we'll do Squalus. Another species with a capture record in Chalakas, I apologize if I'm not saying that right, and Tamia Hua is Squalus cubensis, so that's a Cuban dogfish. Where a large part of captured of the species are represented by adults and sometimes pregnant females. It has been determined that this area north of Veracruz, at the depth of 162 to 180 meters, is a breeding area for the Cuban dogfish. These data are similar to capture dates of the study, coinciding with the records obtained in the Veracruz Reef and in Salinas Roca Partida, where captures of the female specimens are similar. The species is characterized by presenting benthic habitats during the first stages of life. The benthic area where the specimens were obtained is characterized by a rocky substrate, which is alternated between sandy patches. In times when it is usually more abundant, it is fished and sent to La Nueva Vega market for trade. Some authors conducted morphological and morphometric studies, as well as analysis of two mitochondrial genes to describe a new species of the genus Squalus from the Gulf of Mexico, Squalus clarkae. They established this new species as belonging to the Gulf of Mexico, displacing the records of Squalus mitsukurii from this region. Some of its distinctive features that set it apart from others in the genus are a more elongated body, a smaller interorbital space, and a shorter caudal fin. Specimens of Squalus clarkae were caught off the coast of the northern Gulf of Mexico, from Tampa, Florida to Louisiana. The first record for Mexican waters corresponds to 14 specimens captured in the vicinity of Salinas Roca Partida, Veracruz. This work is the second record of the species in Mexican waters, and due to the record of gravid specimens, it is necessary to study the population of the area and corroborate the possible breeding area of species in this area. Interesting. So, very cool. Very cool to see that this might be potentially a breeding ground for the Gulf dogfish, so also known as Genie's dogfish. So, in case you missed it, Minjus, let me make sure. Okay, normal playback speed. Wanted to take a look at the species. So, this is a Okeanos Explorer clip of the Gulf dogfish in very deep water. So, and I also want to put pin in this. So I trust Okeanos because Okeanos identified this as the Gulf Dogfish, also known as Genie's dogfish, but it does look a little bit similar to the Cuban dogfish. But I could see this looking a little bit more elongated though. But it's kind of cool to observe this animal in its natural habitat, where it's just cruising along, staying a little bit closer to the seabed. And it fits a description of where both this dogfish and the Cuban dogfish were captured, which is like a rocky area. So I see deep water, what looks to be deep water corals, so deep water sea fans. Deep water corals are such a really cool ecosystem where, what we think of as corals requires photosynthesis, but deep water corals, they can't really quite do that. Since they're so removed from sunlight, but they still function. So it's really, really interesting ecosystem. I see sponges too. I'm not sure what this fish is. It's really pretty, but I'm not sure what kind of fish that is. So, zooming in on the dogfish, just kind of cruising slowly. So this is more of like a conservative speed where it's just kind of, checking out its environment, not really doing anything. Like there's this shark will speed up in a little bit, but it's like this is kind of like the default state of most sharks and most animals, which is conserving as much energy as possible, not wasting energy, and swimming purposefully, but in a way that is not like the least amount of energy expenditure is kind of the goal for any kind of shark. So, yeah. Oh, midges. I sold the teeniest bit, but I wasn't able to hear because it got busy. For the photos you showed, it seemed like a weirdly pouchy species, almost like a primordial pouch-like cat. Love that. So, lining up with that is the fact that, like all dogfish, this shark can sit on the seafloor and take a rest and actively pump seawater over its gills. So, there's actually a lot of cool videos of the spiny dogfish doing this. So sometimes divers will come across spiny dogfish just kind of sitting on the seafloor doing the same thing. So it's really cool to see the Gulf dogfish just kind of delicately perched on its pectoral fins, sitting down or like laying down on the seafloor and just pumping water over its gills. Also, this is a really interesting this is a really interesting environment where the water is exceptionally clear here, which is kind of cool because you think of like, oh, there we go. So I slowed that clip down earlier, and I think the shark bumped into something or it just ran into something it didn't like, or something kind of startled it as it was swimming behind that rock, because I don't really see any, and we can rewind one more time, I don't really see anything that it's going after. At first I thought it was charging something. And I do see there's a little crab that moves back here. By the way, speaking of crabs, speaking of crabs that are doing kind of like funny things on the seafloor, my wife and I were watching a white shark documentary about white sharks in Massachusetts. I think that was today. And there's this great clip of a white shark swimming across the seabed, and this crab just completely freezes. And I was just joking, like, the crab is like muttering, like, "Don't move, don't die," like, just don't. So, as this massive white shark just completely misses it as it's going over it. But let me point out one more time. So this I think is a crab. This little white thing over here. Based on the way it's moving, I'm pretty sure it's a crab. So, yeah. but yeah, it was just kind of cracking me up. So, I'll point out the crab again. So this shark has seen something behind that rock, and maybe it got overstimulated by something, or maybe something pinched it. I feel like that's more of a flight response. I'm not really sure what was kind of going on there. So. And then the shark comes back in the frame, and it's going to be swimming more actively too. It's kind of cool. Okay, so it's heading back to that same rock. making a pass by it. So interesting. What a beautiful seascape too. So the deep water seascape. There's just so much life going on here. Like so many features. So many, like, sponges and corals. And then there's that dogfish again. That's so cool. Just kind of swimming right to the frame. Beautiful shark. Now this is interesting. This individual's dorsal fins do not have the white margin. So the other shark that we saw earlier had the white margins, but this individual does not have them. And this is also this shark is actually also taking a break, keeping an eye on the submarine, which is so cool. But the shark is taking a break, sitting on its fins. It's so cool seeing like the lower caudal fin and the pectoral fins making like a tripod. The shark can just be perched upon as it's pumping water over its gills, and then it wiggles away. So really cool. Yeah, beautiful footage. The crab nose. Yeah. So I think this might be a good time to. So we already looked at kind of like the basic. Oh, thank you. Sorry about the audio. Thank you for letting me know. I think we already covered a lot of the basics on the Gulf dogfish, including its least concern. So it's great to see that the shark is doing okay. I think I had one more clip. Oh, wow. Okay. I do have one more clip. So this is actually really stunning. These... come on. There we go. So this is a school or a shiver of Gulf dogfish eating swordfish. So swordfish that has fallen to the seafloor. So really, really incredible. And this is actually a really amazing clip. Where you can see the classic dogfish maneuver where these sharks have like a row of teeth that kind of interlock. So the best description I have for it is like a chainsaw. So what the sharks will do is that they will bite on to their prey item, and like really particularly the lower jaw has like kind of like the interlocking chainsaw teeth. The sharks will bite on to sharks will bite on to the prey item, and then will wriggle their way. They'll latch on with the upper jaw, and then kind of like twist their entire body so that the lower jaw cuts chunks of flesh out. This is also horrible to watch, but bony fish can sometimes predate sharks, and I'll discuss more about that in a second. But I'm going to slow this down so we can kind of see in more detail what is going on. Here we go. So. Yeah, welcome, Yellow Ring. So I think I know who you are. It's good to see you. So welcome back to the channel. So YouTube recently did this thing where it's really sad because it's like I used to see people's usernames. So but they're showing up as like their I don't know what to say. It's like their Gmails or their handles or something like that. So for example, Mingus is here, but I see Squilvin. So, but I know who you are. It's great to see you, and thank you for joining tonight. So, this is a pretty fun stream or episode to watch because we're talking about the Gulf dogfish, also known as Genie's dogfish. But this is also a great opportunity to talk about Eugenie Clark. Which is the first time we're going to be talking about like a scientist in detail. So I pulled up some summary articles on Eugenie Clark that we'll dive into a little bit later, but I wanted to slow this down just to kind of show this feeding technique where the shark will bite on with its upper jaw and then twist with its lower jaw. So again, the lower jaw has these like interlocking chainsaw-like teeth where they can take huge chunks of flesh out of large prey items. So this is especially good for exactly this moment where you have large pelagic animals like swordfish or whales falling to the seafloor, and they can create a bonanza of unexpected food for deep sea animals. So it's really cool to see these sharks like going to town. And also, it's a great view of how dogfish get their name, like how they kind of run into something like a pack and attack it all together. That's why dogfish get the name dogfish. So, yeah, it's so cool to see. Like, this is just classic behavior of gripping on, tightening the body, and then wriggling so that they can tear huge chunks of flesh off. And it's incredible. It's a incredible demonstration of like how strong sharks are, but also how sharp their teeth are. Where this is a tough swordfish, and this animal, doesn't have any leverage in terms of like like limbs or anything. It's just using the musculature of its body to wriggle a chunk of flesh away. So it's pretty wild to see. So really cool to see a school of the Gulf dogfish surrounding this tuna. So this fish, it looks a lot like a grouper. I'm not as good with bony fish. I know they said it's called a wreck fish in the video. It looks like a grouper of some kind. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But I'm not sure exactly what group of fish wreck fish belong to. But if it is a grouper, groupers are infamous fish where it is a grouper. Thank you. Okay, so groupers are infamous fish that if they get to be a certain size, they are actually relatively dangerous. Where there's a couple groupers, specifically the Goliath grouper, that have been known to harass and bite divers. And some divers have said that groupers are more concerning than sharks. So it's kind of funny to see, this grouper looks, innocent enough. It looks like we kind of sometimes underestimate bony fish in terms of like they look kind of, I don't know, there's something about bony fish. They have this kind of placid look, like, oh, I'm just kind of chilling along, don't mind me, just this like calm, like just this placidity, like placidness, and then boom, it's eating something that you wouldn't expect it to eat. So, but grouper do go after sharks. And grouper go after anything, smaller than it. So, so for an extremely large grouper like Goliath grouper, especially if you're diving in Florida, you just have to be really careful around these kinds of fish because they will bite people. So, I don't think I've heard of someone dying by a grouper, but actually, let's check that out. I wonder if I could find that. So sad to see a shark. I hate seeing a shark predation. So sad to see, but we'll go back to the sharks being the predators. Beautiful eyes, by the way. Really great shot of the Gulf dogfish's eyes, which are kind of semi-reflective too in this deep water. So beautiful sharks. All right, I'm just gonna Google have people died by grouper. Because I actually can't remember. Yes, there are documented cases of people dying in incidents directly involving large grouper, particularly the Atlantic Goliath grouper. I want to see if I can find... okay, Lessons for Life. Scuba Diving Magazine is a source I trust, so here we go. Let's see. Ooh, Yellow Ring. Back in 2013, I saw a 7-foot-long Goliath while diving. That's amazing. Oh my gosh. That's incredible. Yikes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Gotta be at least one instance from like the 1800s. Yeah. So it's kind of funny. There's an old shark book that I have that talks about animals that are more dangerous than sharks, and there's honestly quite a few for a scuba diver that are just more dangerous. So a couple ones I could think of are box jellyfish in Australia, sea kraits, so like sea snakes. I don't know about moray eels, but But Lessons for Life, Wooden Grouper Strikes Back Fatally. Let's see. The dive. Everything was going fine until the sunfish attempted to get free. It floated around, charging the end of the stringer line, and then changing course and going in another direction. Grouper collided with Danny's face, knocking his massive skew and pulling his regular out of his mouth. So this is kind of more like a freak accident, but I'm pretty sure there's... let's look up Goliath grouper. Here we go. We'll play the Wikipedia game where, as always, Wikipedia, it shouldn't be your final source, but sometimes it's a good quick thing, quick reference. Huh. I'm pretty sure I've heard of Goliath grouper hurting people. I'm gonna try one more time. I mean, it could be wrong. I mean, I could be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure I've heard of Goliath grouper. They're not exactly known to attack humans. Okay. Alright, we'll put a pin in that, because... it's really terrible. Okay. I will put a pin in that, because I'm not exactly sure... I thought I've heard that Goliath grouper are fishes to be cautious about, so... Yeah. Oh, interesting. Oh, this is great, actually. Actually, this is kind of a cool game. Please leave a comment. I really like this yellow ring. Leave a comment for animals that are more dangerous than sharks, like more hazardous for divers than sharks. So you got scorpion fish, electric stingrays, like torpedo rays in particular. I've heard those can knock you down in terms of how powerful the shock is. Moors can be dangerous if you rile them up. Interesting, Goliath group are critically endangered, partially from overfishing. Interesting. Anecdotally, anglers will illegally get stuck with a shotgun shell at the end of it because you're swallowing a Goliath. Oh, wow. That actually weirdly reminds me, needlefish. So needlefish, I never, and I think specifically houndfish. So needlefish are these really cool fish that they're very small in the Chesapeake Bay. They get to be about maybe a foot at the larger size, but they have these very long bony mouths, and that looks like a needle. And there's a particularly large kind of needlefish called a houndfish, where if fishermen accidentally hook a houndfish, they've actually been impaled by them. Houndfish can leap out of the water with such speed, and because their mouths are so small that they can actually stab you. And there have been a couple incidents of houndfish stabbing people. So and swordfish similarly and marlin are no joke. If you, and not maybe from a diving perspective, but just in a general safety perspective. So, learning from you, orcas. It stuck with me, even though I'll probably never encounter one. Yes. So yellow ring. When I was getting my SSI dive certification, some of my classmates were. I don't think they were directly with the U.S. Navy, but they were contractors for the Navy. And they mentioned that there's a protocol where if you see a shark in the water, you're fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. If you see an orca in the water, you need to get out. And the reason being is that orcas are unpredictable. They're highly intelligent. And it's important to say that there's never been a wild fatality by an orca. There's been the infamous captive fatalities. But there's never been a wild fatality by an orca whale. However, I find it really fascinating that there's an official protocol of all the animals that you need to be wary of when you're underwater. Orcas are a big one, where it's just because they're so huge, so smart, and they've caused so much damage to seals. And I think it's interesting. Never a documented orca fatality. I think it's out of an abundance of caution. The official protocol is you need to get out if there's an orca in the water. So, Only fish related stab I dealt with was when I actually. Yeah. Sorry. Tarpon. It hit you with blunt force if they mistake you for a bit of food, which is usually is an issue. That's a great one though. Tarpon are a very popular Florida fish, and you don't want to be the first fatality. Do you know what is another big one too? So sorry. So tarpon, yes, because they actually get to be pretty big. Another big one that I don't think it's probably not talked about as much just because I'm not Australian, but crocodiles, saltwater crocodiles in particular, terrifying. Saltwater. I didn't even know this. Saltwater crocodiles get to be about the size of a white shark in length, which is insane. I never knew that they got to be that big. But saltwater crocodiles can cruise the ocean. I mean, not the ocean, but can cruise in coastal environments, and just the idea of, swimming with one is awful, terrifying, because they're one of those animals that would go after. They would go after you if they thought you were a prey. They would totally go after people. So, what else? I'm trying to think of other things that are more dangerous than sharks. I think on our coast in the mid-Atlantic of the United States, I think I covered the major ones because we don't really have. I'm trying to think if there's anything that, because I already covered swordfish, marlin, houndfish. I've heard of bluefish bite, but they're not but they're small. Sea ravens are a kind of scorpion fish. And we talked about scorpion fish. We talked about torpedo rays. It's a big one. We have Portuguese man-o'-wars. Sometimes the Portuguese man-o'-wars will drift up here. And those could be fatal. Lion's mane jellyfish, I think, can also be fatal if they get to be a large size. And we have small ones in the winter, but in New England there's some huge ones. This is kind of fun. It's kind of interesting to think about animals that are more dangerous than sharks. In the ocean animals that are more dangerous than sharks. Aside from, we don't have any on our coast. We don't have any crocodilians. When you go further south, you have American alligators, but they do not go into seawater. We don't have sea snakes here. So I think we've ruled out all the reptiles. We've ruled out all the marine mammals because we don't have leopard seals. But leopard seals are a terrifying marine mammal that are in Antarctica. What else? Things are more dangerous than sharks. Polar bears, they're technically, they count as marine mammals, so. Blue crab. Yeah. Oh, interesting. I love this comment. Saltwater crocs, I'm going to start this. Saltwater crocs were the animal that Steve Irwin seemingly respected the most in terms of danger. Interesting. Barracuda are interesting, where, bluefish teeth are really darn sharp. Barracuda are interesting, where they go after you if you have, shiny jewelry and stuff, but otherwise, I feel like barracuda tend to leave people alone. Technically, we have tiny in the bay. I've technically have snorkeled with barracuda in the bay, and it sounds really cool, but it's a tiny barracuda called a senet. So I've snorkeled with senet a couple. The senet are actually pretty populous in the bay. I've seen them a couple times. So they're really cool tiny barracuda. Hell yes, Mingus, hippos. So I don't think they count as a marine mammal, but I'm absolutely adding hippos to the list as it's a valid thing that is more dangerous than a shark. 100%. Hippos are horrifying animals. Horrifying. That's an excellent answer, actually. So, and then if we're including everything, moose. Well, let's just add moose to the mix because moose are. I'm gonna accept hippos and moose because they are more dangerous. They're both horrifying animals. I think we ruled out. I'm trying to think of any other marine animal. But, and I have a picture of Eugenie Clark. I promise we're gonna talk about her story in a little bit. I'm so fascinated by the subject. Animals that are more dangerous than sharks. I think we cover. I mean, lionfish, I guess. Moose are finding out close. Uh, I'm actually trying to remember if Komodo dragons swim, because monitor lizards swim. But I don't think monitor lizards go into the ocean. I could be wrong. I actually can't remember if Komodo dragons do that or not. Like, I don't know if they highland hop or not. So, I feel like I'm missing like a big one, like a big animal. So. Oh, thank you, Elrain. Thank you for joining. I loved your stories and contributions for dangerous animals. It actually does help, you know, against shark misunderstanding, where there's a lot of animals in the ocean that are much more dangerous than a shark. So I appreciate your contributions. So thank you, and I hope you have a really great week, and I hope you feel better. So thank you for joining. Let's see. I feel like I'm missing something. Like, I feel like I'm missing some kind of fish that is like not a stargazer, which is also an electric fish. I feel like I'm really missing a kind of fish that is like very dangerous, but I can't remember. So, oh, Humboldt squid, which is not a fish, but Humboldt squid theoretically more dangerous than sharks. The squid that goes after people. You know, in Baja California, and we've talked about a few times. I'm going to leave it at Humboldt squid. So, but anyway, here we go. So Eugenie Clark, I'm really glad that we get to talk about her tonight, and I'd love to learn more information about her too. But she is one of the greats as far as a shark biologist and conservationist that is very famous and also has done like solid work. You know, and honestly, like I kind of feel like. I feel like it's hard to pinpoint shark icons because we mentioned Steve Irwin on the chat really briefly. Steve Irwin was this incredible conservation powerhouse, this amazing icon for really Australian wildlife, but crocodiles in particular. And I've talked about it on the stream before, but I feel like there isn't a shark person like that. There really isn't someone who is like kind of been an equivalent, and I think there's a lot of wannabes. I think there's a lot of people who stylize themselves as a Sharky Steve Irwin-ish person, or want to be like the shark person. But I think just sharks are tricky. Where I think like. I think that alchemy hasn't happened yet, where you find somebody who is like passionate, charismatic, accomplished. I just feel like that there hasn't been like a major personality really. There's a couple of people who come close though, and I think Eugenie Clark is definitely absolutely one of them. You know, and that's no shade to her at all. Like that's I mean that very admiringly, where I feel like sharks don't really have. Like Jane Goodall is like the face of like chimpanzees, right? You know, like Steve Irwin's like the face of crocodiles. Jane Goodall is the face of chimpanzees. I don't think sharks have really like a person like that. But Eugenie Clark is close. So we'll dive into her story, and it's just I think because like the shark space is kind of, I don't want to say it's crowded, but it's just like there's a lot of people, but there isn't the one person, so, you know, which is so interesting. So, yeah, thank you, Midges. I really appreciate it. Oh my gosh, 26 years of Dr. John's became the face of sharks. That made me so happy. Thank you. I don't think I could be that person, but you never know. We'll see what happens. But I really appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate the sentiment very much. So, and I also love this comment. Sat down, locked in, ears open. I've never heard of her. I'm so excited to learn. Yes, so let's dive in. We'll take a look at a couple different articles. We'll start with National Geographic. So this is her obituary by National Geographic. So sad, but I think it covers her life. So this is her studying sharks from Suruga Bay in Japan. So these are deep water species. These look to be... they look like either deep water cat sharks or maybe even gulper sharks. It's kind of hard to tell because I can't see the rest of the body. But really, really cool deep water specimens here. So, Eugenie Clark, an American marine biologist who fell in love with sharks as a child with her nose pressed against an aquarium tank, no, and whose research on the much maligned species earned her the nickname the Shark Lady, died Wednesday morning in Sarasota, Florida. She was 92. So that's, I think she was very instrumental in the Moat Marine Lab, which is like a world famous shark research facility. I used to live close to Sarasota, and Moat is in Sarasota, so I'm pretty sure she has a major hand in Moat Marine Lab. So, the death was confirmed by National photographer David Doublette, her colleague and friend. A pioneer in the use of scuba gear to conduct underwater scientific research and a veteran of more than 70 deep dives and submersibles, Clark continued diving into her 90s, even after being diagnosed with non-smoker related lung cancer. She never outgrew this absolute fascination of looking and seeing and observing underwater. Even when I was a younger man and she was older, I couldn't keep up with her. She moved with a kind of liquid speed underwater. This is a really cool photograph. This is Clark examining basking shark claspers in Japan. So it's incredible to see a basking shark specimen in Japan. Before Clark began her research on sharks in the 1950s, the animals were considered both dumb and deadly. After some study, she said, I began to realize that these gangsters of the deep have gotten a bad rap. Although she would conduct research on other fish, she discovered several species and has some named in her honor. Much of her work was focused on sharks and dispelling the public's fears about them, especially after the 1975 movie Jaws. One of her National Geographic stories was titled Sharks, Magnificent and Misunderstood. Clark discovered the first effective shark repellent in secretions from a flatfish called mosasaur that lives in the Red Sea. She ventured into undersea caverns off of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula to find sleeping sharks suspended in the water, a discovery that upended scientists' belief that sharks had to keep moving to breathe. Her contributions were astounding, Doublette said. So, a great photograph of her by the sea in Mexico, so 1981. Eugenie Clark was born in New York City on May 4th, 1922, to a Japanese mother and American father who died when she was a baby. Her mother later married a Japanese restaurant owner, and Clark would credit the ocean-focused Japanese culture for her life's passion. She learned to swim before the age of 2, and later often told the story of how she got hooked on fish. On Saturdays when she was 9, she would visit New York Aquarium at Battery Park in Lower Manhattan. She would imagine what it would be like to be inside a shark tank swimming with them. Clark pursued her dream to become an ocean explorer, earning a BA, a Bachelor's of Arts in Zoology from Hunter College in 1942, and a Master's and PhD from New York University. So she's a pioneer of women in marine biology. It's so cool, considering, this is, it's an amazing accomplishment in general, but like to do this like in the 40s, when there's like a lot more, how do I say this? More gender stereotype stuff going on, like it's a different, it was just a different time and a different culture, and like to do this in that time, to do this in general, but to do this at the time, really incredible. So she had hoped to attend Columbia University, her first choice for postdoctoral studies, but scientists told her there, if you do finish, you'll probably get married, have a bunch of, well, there you go, sorry, this was I was trying to find a polite way of saying this, but here you go. This stupid comment. If you do finish, you probably get married, have a bunch of kids, never do anything in science after we invested our time and money in you. It's horrible. But despite marrying 5 times and having 4 children for her second husband, Clark proved that skeptic wrong. Few women, let alone Japanese Americans, were working in the male-dominated field of marine biology when she started out after World War II. Clark and another early underwater explorer, Sylvia Earle, also very famous, would become role models and mentors to a generation of women marine biologists. So, Sylvia Earle is very interesting. Her nickname is Miss Deepness, because I forget what her accomplishment is, but I think she's the deepest, I think she's the woman who's dove the deepest, I want to say. There's a claim to fame that she has with, and she's a very prominent figure in oceanography, and marine science in general. But what's kind of funny is one of my professors at William and Mary. So William and Mary is the College of William and Mary is my alma mater, and William and Mary is connected to the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. They actually, the Marine Science School at VIMS is under William and Mary, and so it has an increasingly robust marine science presence there, which is great. And when I was studying marine science as an undergrad, one of my professors designed submarines, and he met Sylvia Earle. So and like I got him to sign one of he it wasn't a paper that he co-authored. It was like a panel opinion that he co-authored, and I asked him to sign it, and he signed it. And I shook his hand, and it's kind of funny. It's like my wife was telling me about the chain of handshakes. I think that was today too, where she mentioned like if you trace how many people like people who shook your hand, and like if you trace the handshakes, like how they connect to people. So he shook Sylvia Earle's hand, and I shook his hand. It's just like 2 degrees separation. It's just kind of fun. It's just kind of funny to think about stuff like that. So. But I've never met her, but I'm aware of her in the sense that she's been very prominent in marine science and conservation outreach. So, and Sylvia Earle's been in a couple of documentaries too on sharks. Beautiful photograph of of Eugenie Clark with a Japanese spider crab. So really cool. We have spider crabs off our coast, so I've seen them on dives. They get to be large. I don't know about this large, but large. After graduate research in the South Pacific, her 1953 autobiography about her experience, Lady with a Spear, became an international bestseller. So I'm going to put that in the chat. So, Lady with a Spear, Eugenie Clark, autobiography. There we go. Truly next in line for the shark prophecy. Thank you, Midges. I love these comments. Clark took a job at the Scripps Institution of Oceanography in La Jolla, California. So, as I'm sure you know, Scripps is also world famous. I feel like Mote Marine Lab is the East Coast, top marine science institute or oceanographic institute. Like Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute is like the top marine science institute on the East Coast. Scripps is the equivalent on the West Coast. So Scripps Institution of Oceanography. So Woods Hole in the East, Scripps in the West. As far as sharks go, I really wish there were 4 institutions that were like the top. Man, I really wish I had to figure out. Hold on. This is going to bother me. American Lazaring Society. There are 4 institutions that, and I think they're all in the United States, that are like the top 4, like the big 4. VIMS is one, Mote is one. There's 2 more that I'm missing, and I think one is in California, one is in Florida. And I can't remember. Sorry, this is gonna bother me. I remember like behind the scenes there was like four shark research places that were like they used to be like the top 4, and I think there's been some changes and stuff. Anyway, sorry. So Woods Hole, Massachusetts is really famous and important. Scripps in California is really famous and important. Mote in Florida is really famous and important. And then there's a couple schools here and there that are also kind of like very high up there as far as shark science. So Virginia Institute of Marine Science is a big one. I want to say Florida Atlantic University is another big one, and I think there's another one in California. I can't quite remember, but anyway, sorry. It was a memorable stay. Scripps is where she learned how to scuba dive, but it was also where she nearly drowned while diving with a helmet whose air hose malfunctioned. And it was there where she encountered more institutional sexism. She and another woman researcher were barred from going on overnight trips or to the Galapagos Island, drastically limiting the scope of work. Clark did stints at the New York Zoological Society, now the Wildlife Conservation Society, and the American Museum of Natural History before moving to Southwest Florida in 1955 and founding the Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory in Sarasota. So she's the founder of Mote. There we go. It was later renamed Mote Marine Laboratory and eventually expanded its initial focus on sharks to include wild fisheries, coral reef restoration, marine biochemical research, biomedical research, and other issues. For a young woman at that time to take on something like this and to move to this mosquito-infested place, that was really gutsy, said Kumar Mahadevan, former president of the Mote lab. In 1968, Clark joined the faculty of the University of Maryland, where she taught marine biology until her retirement in 1992. She stayed connected with Mote, spending her later years there as a trustee. Although Clark was a serious researcher who developed the first test tube babies in female fish, her ability to connect to the general public and talk about the importance of exploration and protection of oceans and conservation of species may be her greatest legacy, Mahadevan said. So, nice picture of her with a whale shark pup. So, and actually, this is actually, so whale sharks, since they're electrolobiforms, they lay eggs, and actually this is, you can see the pup in an egg cage. Let me make sure that's right, actually. Hold on. I'm going to grab a book to confirm that really quickly. Hold on. Okay. Sorry, the reason why I paused is that so whale sharks are electrolobiforms, which should be egg-laying, but it's such a famous pelagic species that I just want to make absolutely sure this is correct before I say something wrong. So hold on, I'm checking out Field Guide to Sharks in North America, which will give me a nice quick overview. Let's see. Okay. And I am glad that I checked that. So whale sharks are live bearing. Okay. Sorry. Okay. I am really glad I checked that. So whale sharks give live birth, which makes much more sense because they're open ocean species. So I'm not sure then what is around this whale shark pup, this in the lab, but I thought for a second that was an egg case. That is not correct. Whale sharks are live bearing. Whale sharks are live bearing. I should get a tattoo as a reminder, like on my arm. Whale sharks are live bearing. So, okay. Clark, who received more than a dozen grants from the National Geographic Society, made several TV specials for the society as well. She also famously taught then Crown Prince Akihito of Japan how to snorkel. Wow. But perhaps Clark will be most remembered for courage driven by curiosity. Dubélé was with Clark in the Sea of Cortez when she rode the back of a 50-foot whale shark, the largest fish in the sea. He thought he would never see her again. She later called the ride one of the most exciting journeys of her career. Wow. So, nice summary of, really nice summary of just a lot of her work. Let's keep looking at, I actually do want to check out the Mote Marine Lab biography. Nice picture of her later in life, Dr. Eugenie Clark, founding director. I want to see if there's any other information to add on to that. So I like that National Geographic summary, but here we go. So Dr. Eugenie Clark, nicknamed the Shark Lady, was a world authority on sharks and fish and who built Mote Marine Laboratory in 1955. The lab, then called the Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory, was created and supported by the Vanderbilt family. Wow, okay. So, Vanderbilts, okay. So I'm trying to, the Carnegies and the Carnegies and the Vanderbilts, like, this is like a really famous American family from like the what do you call it, the Gilded Age, shipping and railroad empires. Okay, so Vanderbilt is a Gilded Age family, which I didn't realize that they were involved in Mote, which is really interesting. So anyway, the lab, then called the Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory, was created and supported by the Vanderbilt family as a place to study the oceans and share that information with the world. Learn more about Genie here. I actually would like to learn more about her. Okay. Dr. Eugenie Clark was a scientist who studied sharks and other kinds of fish. Oh, okay. She was a pioneer in the fields of marine science, uncovering previously unknown facts and discovering new species of fish and found them at marine laboratory. She dedicated her life to the discovery of knowledge and dissemination of scientific information and continues to be inspiring for generations of young scientists. Explore the life of... Oh, this is really cool, actually. Okay. So, I'm actually going to put this in the chat, because this actually goes into... The subsections here are really cool, where you can explore her life, explore her notebook, or check out her timeline. So I want to check out the timeline first. This is really cool. Wow, this is so cool. Okay. So a legend is born. Eugenie Clark is born in New York to parents Yumiko and Charles Clark. This is so cool. Of course, I'm so glad. I'm so glad to share it. Because I think this is going to be more than I think more than fits into a single stream. In a good way. There's so much cool stuff. So, 1924, Genie's father Charles Clark passes away. Wow, look at this. While her mom is at work, Genie begins visiting New York Aquarium and Battery Park every Saturday. That's so cool. Great old school picture of the aquarium. High school, graduates from William Cullen Bryant High School in Long Island. Attends Hunter College in New York City. Despite nearly getting kicked out for poor grades in English and German, Genie graduates in just 3 years with a Bachelor of Arts degree in zoology, botany, and chemistry. Bug Camp. Genie and her best friend Norma attend Bug Camp summer fieldwork courses at the University of Michigan Biological Station. Master's degree. Graduates with a Master's of Science degree in zoology from New York University while working full-time as a chemist at the Celanese Plastics Corporation in 1944 and 1946. Graduate work and fellowships. Studies at Scripps Institute of Oceanography in La Jolla, California as a research assistant under Dr. Carl Hubbs. Completes first helmet dive. Works at Cornell University Medical School as research assistant under Dr. F.E.M. Shore. Works as consultant oceanographic chemist for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. Studies at Woods Hole Marine Oceanographic Institute in Massachusetts. Studies at Lerner Biological University Laboratory in Bimini. So, Clark Shark Special Win. Honestly, that is a great idea, and this is going to be more than... I think that's a great idea, and that might be something that would be fun to work on this year, where, like, major names in shark science. So Eugenie Clark, David Ebert would be a really great one to study, or to review. Maybe Bigelow and Schroeder, maybe? I'm not sure. So, but... Oh... Oh my gosh! Good luck on your semester. I just realized I didn't realize this either. So, oh man, thank you so much for watching, Minjus. I really appreciate. I'll finish up the timeline. I'll also pick a shark for next week because I didn't realize it's already 10:30. But thank you so much for watching. I wish you best of luck for your new semester. I know you're gonna crush it, and just sending all the good vibes. So, but I hope you have a great week, and tune in next week for a mystery shark. So I'm excited to see you and the crew back, and then I will finish the Eugenie Clark timeline. So hopefully you'll be able to see it later. But until then, have a great week, and thank you so much for watching. So in this timeline, we have Eugenie has a doctorate degree, graduates a PhD in zoology from New York University, so 1950. Fellowship of the American Museum of Natural History's Department of Animal Behavior, studying behavior of pochilid fishes. I want to see what that is, actually. Let's see. Pochilid fish. Live bearers. Okay, so these are like, are mosquito fish? Sorry, live bearers are popular hardy aquarium fish like guppies, mollies, and platies. So most fish lay eggs. This is actually a really cool fish that that give birth to live young. So bunnyfish that do that, which is incredible. Micronesia, Fellowship for the Pacific Science Board of National Research Council to conduct fieldwork in Micronesia studying poisonous fishes, so 1949. Fish and Pharaohs, 1951, receives a Fulbright scholarship to study at the Gardakwa Biological Station, Red Sea in Egypt, studying plectognath fishes. Plectognath. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. Plectognath fish. Oh, are these pufferfish? Pufferfish. Okay, pufferfish and triggerfish. Interesting. Lady of the Spear. Genie receives a Saxon Fellowship from Brothers New York to write about fish collecting in tropical waters. In 1953, his book Lady of the Spear was published and became a bestseller in the month of the election. It's translated into Italian, Japanese, German, Danish, Norwegian, Swedish, Arabic, and Braille. A personal memoir by a young scientist who has found delight and adventure exploring the tropical waters of 3 oceans in search of rare and bizarre fish. Founding Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory. Founds Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory in Placida, Florida, with the financial assistance of Anne and William H. Vanderbilt in 1955. So this will become Mote Marine Lab. Carlage's Comrades begins conducting behavioral and biological studies of sharks, demonstrating for the first time their sophisticated learning behaviors and ability to respond to training, and dispelling myths that sharks are mindless eating machines. So we have Dr. Clark and Fred Arnson training a baby nurse shark. So cool. Moving laboratory, 1960. Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory moves from Placida to Siesta Key in Sarasota. And there's a photograph of her with moray eels. A special gift for a crown prince. Genie brings Japan's crown prince Akihito a nurse shark trained to press a target for a food reward. The two share a fascination for ichthyology. So Genie with Prince Akihito, second from right. Wow. Meeting Mr. Mote. William R. Mote sells or retires from a successful transportation firm and is introduced to Genie and the Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory. Interesting, 1965. Back to the Big Apple, accepts faculty position to teach at City University of New York in 1966. Mote Marine Laboratory in 1967. So again, this is world famous, world-class shark research lab. Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory is renamed Mote Marine Laboratory in honor of patrons William Mote and his sister Elizabeth Mote Rose. University of Maryland, Genie accepts professorship at University of Maryland College Park in 1968. The Lady of the Sharks, Genie publishes her second book, The Lady and the Sharks, a personal narrative of 10 years of adventure of scientific experience with sharks, manta rays, and many smaller creatures by founder of Florida's Cape Hayes Marine Laboratory. So I'm going to put this in chat too. The Lady and the Sharks. Eugenie Clark. Sleeping sharks. So photographed by David Dubois. Genie disproves the myth that sharks don't slumber. Observing sharks off the coast of Mexico, Genie learns that the water in the underwater caves, which was high in oxygen and low in salinity, was enough for the sharks to keep breathing while they rested. Although sharks were not actually asleep, they would be in a lull or stupor, sometimes for hours at a time. 1974. Mote moves to City Island. So Mote Marine Laboratory moves from Siesta Key to City Island, Sarasota. So incredible white shark jaw, by the way. So they, Mr. Mote and Dr. Clark are holding a white shark jaw. And this is 1978. Whale shark. Wow, look how huge this is. 1980, National Geographic photographers captured Genie swimming near a whale shark, Earth's largest fish. So really wild photograph. So here's this massive shark, and she's just on the back of it right here. So incredible, incredible size. Diving deeper, in 1986, completes the first submersible dive off Bermuda. Genie would complete more than 70 submersible dives over the course of her career. 1988, completes submersible dive to the bottom of Monterey Canyon, 12,000 feet, carrying the flags of the Society of Women Geographers, Explorers Club, and National Geographic Society. Desert Beneath the Sea is her third book. I'm going to type this here, Desert Beneath the Sea, Eugenie Clark. Retirement, sort of. Retires in 1992 from the University of Maryland. Nat Geo Award, award National Geographic Society's Franklin L. Burr Award 1993. In 2000, returns to Mote Marine Laboratory to continue research. Explorers Club Medal in 2008. Wow, okay, Jose Castro would be a really great researcher to talk about too, because Jose Castro has done a lot of work on sharks in North America in particular. Dr. Eugenie Clark is awarded the Explorers Club Medal. The Explorers Club Medal is the club's highest honor. It was awarded in recognition of extraordinary contributions in the field of exploration, scientific research, or to the welfare of humanity. Cake and Coral in 2014 visits Israel to sign a research partnership agreement with the Inter-University Institute of Marine Sciences. While there, Genie scuba dives in Elliott to celebrate her 92nd birthday. Scuba diving in 92 is unbelievable. That's incredible accomplishment. In June 2014, completes her last scuba dive while researching ocean triggerfish and garden eels in Solomon Islands. And then 2015, Dr. Eugenie Clark passes away in Sarasota, Florida. So, last completed research paper is published in 2015, bringing more than 175 publications. It's incredible. In 2016, the American Laserega Society establishes the Eugenie Clark Award to support early career female scientists studying sharks, skates, and rays. And then in 2018, all the way back to our dogfish, a new species of deep sea shark, Squalus clarkae, Genie's dogfish, is identified and named in Genie's honor. And finally, in May 2022, the United States Postal Service issues special forever stamp in recognition of Genie's work and her profound impact. So, incredible life, unbelievable story, and just really glad that we could spend some time learning more about her today. So I think before we wrap up, I want to see if there's any... I think we'll wrap up with this last little abstract on the Gulf Dogfish, and then I'm going to pick a mystery shark for next week. Which I'm excited to... there's a couple ideas I have that I think will be kind of fun to do, but I want to spend the last little moments on the stream talking about the shark that is named after Eugenie Clark. So particularly this paper is Squalus clarkae is a new dogfish shark from the Northwest Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico with comments on Squalus mitsukuriae species complex by Maria Felliger, Dean Grubbs, Charles Cotton, oh my god, and Toby Daliangle. I don't know if there's any viewers left right now, but Charles Cotton, this is Chip Cotton, who was my mentor. So that's actually really cool to see his name. I mean, when I say my mentor, Chip was one of the most, in my time at VIMS, Chip was one of the most important figures where I learned a lot from him, where he was focusing on deep sea animals in general, but particularly deep sea sharks. And it's really cool to see his name in this paper relating to Eugenie Clark's, Genie's dogfish. That's actually really cool that he was a co-author on it. So it was one thing I really loved about kind of Chip and Chip's research. He just had this very calm, chill, like kind, welcoming. Just he was a really, really great mentor as far as marine science goes, and just we didn't spend a lot of time together, but the time that we did spend together, I learned a lot from him, and he definitely was. You know how there's like people in your life that just kind of they do influence you in terms of like the time you spend with them. They impart some knowledge or wisdom or just like a manner in terms of like how you carry yourself. Chip has been one of those people for me, so it's so cool to see his name in this paper because he's definitely been an influence. So it's so cool to see that actually. So sharks of the genus Squalus have slow reproductive rates coupled with low genetic diversity, as is typical of deepwater sharks, making this group slow to rebound from depletion due to overfishing. The number of species within Squalus has been expanding recently due to increased attention on taxonomic revision and a growing research focus on little-known deepwater sharks in general. Here we use genetics and morphology to describe a new species of dogfish shark, Squalus clarkae from the Gulf of Mexico, which replaces Squalus mitsukuriae in this region, and placed in the context of congeners of the Atlantic and elsewhere. Previously, Squalus clarkae was considered part of the Squalus mitsukuriae species complex, a group of closely related but distinct species. We sequenced mitochondrial cytochrome oxidase 1, the NADH dehydrogenase 2 gene of Squalus mitsukuriae from the type location Japan, Squalus clarkae from the Gulf of Mexico, as well as 3 closely related species, Squalus cubensis, Squalus blainville, and Squalus megalops, and Squalus mitsukuriae from Brazil. Squalus clarkae is genetically distinct from other species with significant statistical support and 2.8% divergent from Squalus mitsukuriae in the type location Japan. Morphological estimates also reveal differences between Squalus clarkae, Squalus mitsukuriae, and other Atlantic Squalus species, with Squalus clarkae now exhibiting a longer body, smaller interorbital space, shorter caudal fin, and differently proportioned first dorsal fin. In general, dogfish sharks in the Atlantic and Gulf of Mexico are characterized by similar but distinct morphology, significant genetic variation, and small species ranges. So, very cool to see that there are many species hiding in plain sight, and it looks like Genie's dogfish, also known as the Gulf Dogfish, is one of them, where it's a shark that originally was confused to be another kind of species, and with further analysis, closer examination of its body, but also a genetic analysis revealed that it's indeed a different species, and it's important from a conservation perspective to keep doing this work, to keep reassessing and identifying new species when we can, to make sure that we're actually implementing wise conservation policies for species that need it. And as an interesting example, this shark is actually least concerned. So the Gulf Dogfish, Genie's dogfish, is actually doing pretty okay. So it's good that we can separate this out from other Squalus species and focus on them if they need help. Because we know that spiny dogfish, as an example, are a species that is vulnerable. It's not doing okay. And the life history of dogfish make them prone to vulnerability. So any kind of research that we could do to kind of help keep the different species organized and hone in on the species that may need conservation help is very valuable overall. So, but I think we'll end a little bit early tonight, but I'm really glad that we got to spend some time with both the Gulf Dogfish and also just learn about Eugenie Clark, who the shark is named after, since she was such a titanic figure in shark research, in shark science, and a pioneer for women in shark science. So I'm really glad that we got to spend some time covering her story. So, and just the tip of the iceberg too, because I think there's so much work that she's done. It definitely would merit, as Min just suggested, it's a standalone episode at some point. So I'd love to do that in the future. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I think we're going to do a mystery shark next week, and I'm very excited to cover a species that we haven't covered before. We finished all of the lamniforms, but we still have quite a few cat sharks, dogfish, some angel sharks, wobegons, saw sharks, even bullhead sharks. There's quite a few sharks left, carpet sharks. So many more to cover, especially considering there's 540 species in the world, and we've covered 140, or really 148. So we have 400 left, which is kind of incredible to think about. But I'm excited to continue the journey with you all, and until next week, hope you all have a great week. And if you're in North America, stay warm, because it's going to be, at least in the eastern part of North America, freezing this week, so please stay warm. And I will see you next week for a new shark. But until then, take care, guys, and have a good one. I'll see you soon. Bye.